My name is Alex, and my life was as normal as it gets for a 24-year-old software engineer in a city that never sleeps. My days were a repetitive loop of coding, debugging, and the occasional escape into the world of virtual reality games. I loved the predictability, the comfort of my routine. But nothing prepared me for the day when everything changed. It was a Tuesday, unusually sunny, with a clear, cloudless sky. I sat in my favorite cafe, sipping my regular order, a double espresso with a dash of cinnamon. Scrolling through my phone, I was half listening to the buzz around me when the news flashed on the TV screen. A massive, unidentified object was hurtling towards Earth. I felt a shiver run down my spine, an odd mixture of fear and fascination. My fingers paused mid-scroll, my coffee forgotten. In the days that followed, the news was everywhere. Scientists couldn't explain it, and conspiracy theories flooded the internet. I noticed the change in people's behavior: whispers on the train, frantic calls in the streets. Despite the growing unease, I found myself drawn to this mystery. Each night, I sat at my computer, poring over forums and articles, seeking answers. The fear that initially gripped me transformed into a burning curiosity. I needed to understand, to unravel this cosmic puzzle. The object, now termed the visitor, dominated my thoughts. I began neglecting my work, my friends, even my health. My apartment turned into a command center, plastered with printouts and scribbled notes. I barely registered the passage of time as I delved deeper into my research. The world outside felt distant, a blur beyond my window. The visitor was no longer just a news story. It had become the center of my universe. As the days ticked by, my fascination grew into an obsession. I realized that the visitor was more than a scientific anomaly. It was a challenge, a call to something greater. I felt a shift within me, a sense of purpose I had never known. My skills as a software engineer, once used for mundane tasks, now had a new direction. I was determined to unravel the mystery of the visitor, unaware of how it would soon change not just my life, but the entire world. As the days turned into weeks, the world around me transformed in a way I had never seen. The once busy streets of the city became erratic, filled with a mix of panic and denial. People stockpiled supplies, while others laughed it off as another doomsday scare. But for me, the visitor was a siren call. I could not turn away. I noticed my friends and colleagues becoming distant. They couldn't understand why I wasn't afraid, why I didn't join them in their preparations or their escapism. I felt isolated, but this isolation only sharpened my focus. My apartment, cluttered with research on the visitor, became my sanctuary. I dove headfirst into the data, barely eating or sleeping. The need to understand, to decode the purpose of this cosmic anomaly, consumed me. One night, as I pored over the latest satellite images, a realization dawned on me. The visitor's trajectory seemed too controlled, too deliberate for a mere comet or asteroid. It was as if it was being guided or guiding itself. This thought sent a jolt of excitement through me. My heart raced as I considered the possibility of intelligent design. The fear that gripped the world seemed irrelevant to me now. I was on the brink of a monumental discovery. But with this revelation came a heavy burden. I started questioning my role in all of this. Was I just a spectator, or was there something I could do? The weight of this impending encounter with the visitor bore down on me. Sleepless nights became more frequent as I grappled with my responsibility. I felt a growing need to do something, to contribute to our understanding of this visitor from the stars. As the visitor neared Earth, its impact became more tangible. Technology started malfunctioning, satellite communications were disrupted, and the world's anxiety reached its peak. Amidst this chaos, I experienced a moment of clarity. I realized that the visitor was not just a threat or a mystery to be solved. It was an opportunity, a catalyst for change. This epiphany rekindled a sense of purpose in me, stronger than ever. I was no longer a lone researcher. I became a man on a mission. As the visitor drew closer, its effects on the world were undeniable. Global communications were erratic, and fear had taken hold of the masses. Amidst this chaos, I felt a strange calmness. My apartment, cluttered with research and equipment, was my bubble, shielding me from the pandemonium outside. I remember the night it happened. I was analyzing the signal disruptions caused by the visitor when I noticed a pattern. It wasn't random. It was a message. My heart pounded in my chest as I decoded it. The realization that the visitor was a vessel, carrying beings from a dying world, hit me like a tidal wave. They weren't invaders. They were refugees seeking help. The knowledge of their plight struck a chord in me. I felt an overwhelming sense of empathy for these distant travelers. My focus shifted from mere curiosity to a fervent need to help. I imagined their desperate journey, their hopes pinned on a distant world. It was a perspective shift that transformed my understanding of the universe and our place in it. With this revelation, I knew I couldn't keep it to myself. I had to act, to share this knowledge. But the weight of this responsibility was daunting. How would I convince a world braced for catastrophe that we were instead facing an opportunity for unprecedented unity and cooperation? My usual confidence wavered, replaced by a sense of urgency mixed with doubt. Despite my fears, I took to the internet, sharing my findings. The response was overwhelming. A community of scientists, engineers, and dreamers gathered, inspired by the possibility of contact with an extraterrestrial civilization. We collaborated, pooling our knowledge and resources. I was no longer alone in my quest. I was part of something greater, a collective effort to reach out and offer assistance. As the visitor entered Earth's orbit, the world held its breath. Our message of peace and understanding was ready. I watched, heart racing, as humanity awaited the response. The fear and isolation I had felt were replaced by a sense of unity and hope. We were on the brink of a new era, and I was at its forefront. The day the visitor arrived was surreal. I stood among a crowd of fellow scientists and enthusiasts, our eyes fixed on the screens showing its approach. My heart was a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was the moment of truth, the culmination of all our efforts. The atmosphere was electric, charged with a collective anticipation. As our message of peace broadcasted to the visitor, time seemed to stand still. Then, the sky erupted in a display of lights and colors like nothing I had ever seen. It was a response, a sign of acknowledgement and gratitude. Emotions overwhelmed me: relief, joy, and a profound sense of wonder. The fear that had gripped the world melted away, replaced by awe and a newfound respect for these celestial beings. The visitor, now known as the vessel of the celestials, hovered in orbit, a constant reminder of our expanded reality. As their story unfolded, it became clear that they were not just refugees, but bearers of knowledge and wisdom far beyond our understanding. The initial fear of their arrival gave way to a period of learning and growth for humanity. I found myself in a role I never imagined: a liaison between humanity and the celestials. My days were filled with collaborations, learning, and sharing. I helped translate their knowledge into forms we could understand, bridging two vastly different worlds. The sense of purpose I felt was overwhelming. I was no longer just a software engineer. I was a pioneer in a new frontier of understanding and cooperation. The arrival of the Celestials marked the beginning of a new era for Earth. They shared technologies that revolutionized energy, medicine, and environmental conservation. The world united in a way I had never seen, working together for a common goal. The sense of division and conflict that once seemed insurmountable was now a thing of the past. As I look back on the journey, from the day the visitor first appeared to this new dawn, I am filled with a sense of humility and pride. We faced the unknown, not with weapons or fear, but with open minds and hearts. The world I knew was gone, but in its place was something better, a world united in its diversity, rich with the promise of interstellar friendship and cooperation.